in this particular case, the Republicans were right.
So you think the Republicans are sort of an extreme fringe party?
No, I don't think that they're an extreme fringe party. I think that they're operating against those they believe are extreme on the left. Like, for example, when you talk about the LGBTQ community, I'm a fiscal conservative and I'm a social liberal. I'm fiscal with my dollars. I ain't apologizing for not wanting to pay high taxes to anybody. I'm not apologizing for that, right? But outside of that, I'm pretty liberal. Live and let live, okay?
Stephen A. Smith walked onto The View and basically dropped a verbal flamethrower, absolutely torching Sonny Hostin for defending the very brand of wokeness that helped fuel the DNC's brutal election meltdown. Everyone already knows Democrats' increasingly woke policies played a major, undeniable role in their collapse last year. Yet people like Sonny Hostin still pretend none of this is connected, clinging to the fantasy that their downfall had nothing to do with the ideological overreach voters clearly rejected. Hostin keeps pushing this idea that wokeness wasn't the driving force behind their setbacks. Now watch Stephen A. Smith tear her argument apart piece by piece and expose exactly how this obsessive push for wokeness helped shape Harris's political disaster.
Pretty liberal, live and let live, okay? But you had folks on the left that were introducing some things when we got in the whole transgender issue and they were talking about bathrooms or they were talking about males transitioning to females and competing against girls in sports and stuff like that.
These are less than 1% of the population.
I understand that.
But you know what? Add Eric
ridiculous.
during the NFL.
But see, I think that's where the mistake is made.
Yeah.
You're saying it's ridiculous. I don't disagree with you. Yeah. But most of the voters out there don't think like that.
But that means they don't have the information.
Okay, but 90% of the voters don't have the information.
Okay, but 90% of voters don't have all the information. And honestly, I find it amazing that so many people still refuse to acknowledge the real reason Kamala Harris and the DNC lost the election. It was their relentless, non-stop obsession with wokeness. Across the country, parents voiced concerns that were brushed off again and again, as if they were clueless or irrelevant. Moms and dads weren't okay with their daughters being forced to share bathrooms with biological men. But Democrats insisted this was enlightened progress everyone was obligated to accept. Families also rejected the push for girls to compete in obviously unfair athletic matchups against biological men who had clear physical advantages. These weren't fringe objections from tiny online groups. These were mainstream frustrations simmering in regular homes across America. Instead of listening, the DNC doubled down, labeling anyone who disagreed as bigoted, uninformed, or intolerant. That arrogance didn't just push voters away. It exploded in their face. People don't want ideology forced into their homes, schools, or sports. They want fairness, common sense, and leaders who respect biological reality, not ideological experiments dressed up as moral evolution.
If you're out there busting your tail to make ends meet and to pay your bills and you're going to work every day and you got a family to take care of and you're in New York City, you're getting stuck 2 hours of your day, you're stuck in traffic. You understand? You got a whole bunch of stuff to go through. You don't have time to know what you and I know.
Maybe you need to listen to the news when you're in traffic.
Well, again, I agree with
not
that.
Be uninformed.
Or you listen to stuff that's going to take you away from the things that brings down your spirit. And that's unfortunately what most voters are doing.
Most Americans are way too busy living real lives to sit down and analyze every policy proposal politicians throw at them. They work long hours, juggle responsibilities, pay bills, raise kids, and simply don't have time to sift through piles of data, dig into research papers, or listen to endless expert panels debating theories that never translate into real-world results. So when something feels off or worse, completely disconnected from their daily struggles, they vote against it, instinctively. And honestly, who can blame them? The average American isn't thinking about wokeness, identity politics, or whatever cultural experiment Washington is pushing this week. Their focus is survival, stability, and making ends meet. They're worried about skyrocketing grocery prices, rent, healthcare, and gas. They want stable jobs, affordable living, and safe neighborhoods, not lectures about pronouns, niche academic theories, or gender ideology pushed into schools. At the end of the day, economics, not ideology, decides elections. Real-world common sense will always crush woke politics.
Because you were inserted even though you were the vice president and it was the Biden-Harris administration, you had folks who are independent. I'm not talking about those on the right, and I'm not talking about those on the left, just independents, who said, wait a minute, she didn't experience a primary either. And the last time we saw her in a primary was 4 years ago, and she didn't even make it to Iowa. They used that as an excuse to point to her level of inexperience. Then you got the war in Russia and Ukraine. You got the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, Hamas and Hezbollah and all of that stuff. And you had Trump using codes. Look, do you want her? Where is she? Where's the interviews? Where's she showing herself? Where's the tough questions? Where's the interrogation? And he leaned on certain things.
Here, Stephen A. Smith doesn't just criticize Kamala Harris. He completely dissects what's left of her political trajectory with precision and unapologetic honesty. Harris never enjoyed anything close to genuine popularity, not even as vice president. From day one, it felt like she was being forced onto voters rather than chosen by them. And that resentment grew as her politics drifted deeper into full-blown wokeness. Smith highlights how this ideological slide alienated everyday Americans who were sick of political dogma being shoved down their throats instead of actual solutions. But he goes further. He calls out Harris for ducking tough interviews, the kind of pressure-filled, no-escape conversations that reveal whether a leader has strength, confidence, and competence. Instead of stepping up and proving she could lead under pressure, Harris avoided scrutiny, which only amplified doubts about her abilities. Smith's takedown shows exactly why voters rejected her so decisively. She was disconnected from the public, untested when it mattered, and ultimately undone by her own political arrogance.
Does everybody remember he originally said he was just going to do it for 4 years?
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I brought up.
Right. And did you think that once you know who stepped in, he said, well, there's nobody, we don't have anybody?
Well, the point is that
right.
it's not about who you're going up against when you know you're not what you used to be. And see, this is where covering sports puts me at a distinct advantage. I cover people every day where it's time for you to go, but you're holding on and you don't want to leave. People who cover the world of sports are accustomed to seeing that all the time. You are the left, you leaned, and you were a prisoner to the extreme left in a lot of people's eyes. Well, guess what? Most of America doesn't operate on the fringes. Whether you're left or you're right, you're relatively centrist.
Stephen A. Smith couldn't have captured it more clearly. The Democratic Party became prisoners of their own extreme wing, the so-called woke squad, which gradually pulled the entire party off balance. Instead of pushing back or drawing boundaries, the mainstream and even the supposedly moderate Democrats stayed silent. And that silence screamed louder than anything they could have said. To ordinary Americans, it looked like the entire party was marching in step with the extremes, embracing policies and rhetoric that felt bizarre, divisive, or flat-out dangerous. By refusing to distance themselves, Democrats allowed the perception to harden that wokeness had consumed their identity. Then came the election loss, and suddenly the same people who once defended all of it scrambled to claim they were never that woke. But by then, the damage was irreversible. Voters already decided the left had abandoned common sense in favor of ideological theater. As Smith made clear, denial after defeat isn't a strategy. It's a confession, and it came far too late.
Problem is, those on the fringes continuously push for you to get everything you want.
Yeah.
They're not about getting things done. They're about getting their way. And if they're not going to get their way, they're about complaining and griping about it, because they understand that when you are operating based off of grievance, that's usually what provokes you to get to the polls. And that is why they don't mind feeling aggrieved and displaying and disseminating that kind of message, because they know people are going to gravitate to that. And as a result, that might get them to the polls, you thinking you're going to get what you want as a result of it.
The woke left eventually sank its claws into Kamala Harris, leaving her with a brutal and unavoidable choice: submit to their ideology or risk being pushed out of the party. Predictably, she folded with barely any resistance. This wasn't surprising because the woke faction has a reputation for getting its way through pressure, not persuasion. They don't win people with thoughtful debate or rational discussion. They strong-arm, shame, and demand obedience. Anyone who pushes back is immediately labeled intolerant, targeted for cancellation, or threatened with losing something important: a job, a reputation, or political standing. Harris aligned herself with their agenda, hoping it would protect her and keep her afloat. But in doing so, she alienated huge numbers of mainstream Americans by letting herself be pulled deeper into rigid ideology. Instead of helping her, it destroyed her. Voters saw through the pandering and rejected it instantly. In the end, she didn't just stumble. She became yet another casualty of the very woke politics she embraced.
I think the Republicans are sort of an extreme fringe party.
No, I don't think that they're an extreme fringe party. I think that they're operating against those they believe are extreme on the left. Like, for example, when you talk about the LGBTQ community, I'm pretty liberal. Live and let live, okay?
Yeah.
But you had folks on the left that were introducing some things when we got in the whole transgender issue, and they were talking about bathrooms, or they were talking about males transitioning to females and competing against girls in sports and stuff like that.
It wouldn't be a full episode without Sunny Hostin jumping in with her trademark nonsense. And right on cue, she delivered. True to form, she twisted Stephen A. Smith's words into something he never even implied. Out of everything he said, not one statement suggested the Republican Party was some fringe movement. That was a straw man Sunny built to distract from the real argument and avoid addressing his actual point. What Smith explained was simple. The woke left hijacked the Democratic Party and held it hostage with radical cultural crusades that pushed middle America away. Democrats let themselves be defined by the extremes. Meanwhile, Republicans stepped up to challenge that overreach and confront the cultural decay spreading through the left. Smith wasn't calling Republicans fringe. He was pointing out that they filled the leadership void Democrats abandoned. Sunny's spin didn't debunk his argument. It accidentally proved it.
Howard Stern says that he wasn't confident that the country was ready to elect the first female president because he knows, quote, how men talk behind closed doors about us. So we're very privileged to have a great guy here today.
Yeah.
Tell her, what do men say about us behind closed doors?
First of all,
Say it to our faces.
Do tell.
I don't hide, so no worries there. Here's the deal. I respectfully disagree with Howard Stern, only from the standpoint that I wish he had been more specific. Why don't you say white men? Because let me tell you something about black men. We love our mamas.
I know that.
We love.
I genuinely believe it's long past time for America to let go of this misguided idea that leadership roles should be handed to women simply because they are women. Representation absolutely matters. But identity alone should never decide who becomes president. America is dealing with enormous challenges: economic instability, border crises, healthcare failures, rising crime, and growing global competition. These issues are serious, and they can't be solved with symbolic gestures or shallow political slogans. They require strong, capable, results-driven leadership. We need leaders chosen for their vision, discipline, decision-making, and proven track record, not their gender. Women who aim to lead must show grit, intelligence, resilience, and readiness for the weight of the presidency. America is absolutely ready for a female president. But she must earn that trust through merit and competence, not receive it as a trophy for identity politics. Democrats didn't fail because Americans rejected women or progress. They failed because Harris and Hillary Clinton didn't inspire confidence, didn't lead effectively, and didn't connect with everyday voters. Instead of focusing on urgent issues like the economy, border security, inflation, and crime, they leaned into divisive identity politics that alienated millions. Stephen A. Smith was right. The woke left held the party hostage, dragging it further into extremes. And by refusing to break free, Democrats sealed their fate at the ballot box. America will embrace a female president when the right leader steps forward with strength, clarity, and capability. And that wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.